I want to hear. I want to hear, Father. I want to be satisfied by your approval of me. Jesus was the new Adam. Think about this. The Father was satisfied with Jesus. This is amazing to think. At the beginning, the Father was also satisfied with Adam because he said it's good. Listen to this. He said here, it's good. I made this creation and it's good. The only difference between the blessing on Jesus and the blessing on Adam is that Jesus received it. Jesus was satisfied by it. Adam wasn't satisfied by it. That's the problem with me and you. That's the problem with me. You understand what I'm saying there? It's the problem with me and you. You see that? It's the problem with me and it's the problem with you. It's not the problem with you and I got out of it a while ago. It's the problem with me and you. That's the problem with us. We are not satisfied by God's approval, but it's being sung over our lives every day. I am not satisfied, and God has to reverse our thinking. He's got to renew our minds to actually not be satisfied by man's approval, but be satisfied by His approval. This has gotten so bad that I'll talk to worship leaders and I will tell them, just do whatever the Father wants you to do. Just get up and worship the Lord. And everybody says, but what about the people? I have never heard anybody at one of those conferences say, what about God? It's always, what about the people? God isn't interested. This is kind of funny. God is not interested in all the people. He's interested in you. How does that work? It's beyond our understanding. He's not interested in all the people. You understand? He's interested in you. How does that work? Because God's more singular. He's so grand and so huge that He has enough time for you. So church is about you. I'm not talking to me generation. I'm talking about He's focused on you. He's focused on every little thing that I do, that I follow His will. It doesn't matter to Him that I got you all to agree with me, or are you all pleased with me? It matters to Him whether I am obedient to Him. And what we try to do is mass produce form. And we will even formalize God, won't we? That's what we do in religion. We formalize God. But see, a form, Heschel said this, a form of God is merely, it's literally to fashion God into a form is to make God the shadow of man. That's what we do. We even fashion God into a form, worship into a form, preaching into a form, songs into a form. God hates form. But He's crazy about you. He doesn't want this big old, woo, they all look the same. Woo. He's saying, where's my love song that I created? Where's my love song? Where is that song that I sang over? Where is that song that I breathed into existence? And why is it not singing what I created her or I created him to sing? Why is it not living and productive in what I made them to be? Why is it fashioning itself after some form that man made, trying to put my people once again into bondage? Does He satisfy? Adam was not satisfied with God's approval. Jesus was satisfied with it. Are you satisfied? Such simple stuff. Almost seems. Think about this. Israel, from the time of Adam through the prophets, was not satisfied with God. That's where we are. Hi, sweetie. Was not satisfied with God. Think about that. This is eternal life, Jesus comes and says to us, that you would know the Father. Today, if you hear His voice, don't harden your heart. Why does that even have to be said? Because Jesus knew that you could hear His voice and harden your heart to it. He knew that man was not satisfied by God alone. That is a crazy thing. We all think that man was satisfied by God. The reality is we all think of all kinds of things about Israel and why they messed up and why we wouldn't, but we all do the same. We are Jacob. And God takes care of us, and God blesses us, and God speaks over us, and God protects us, and God sets us free, and God does so many things for us, you guys. He rips open the waters so that Israel can walk through, and within 200 years they want a king, and they don't even believe in God anymore, essentially. Because the bottom line of our existence is His approval. It's not what matters to us. It's not what matters. It's not in the books. It's not in the books you read. I've been to theological seminary. It's not in the books you read. It's not in the ways to start churches. It's not in results-oriented ministry. It's not in worship. It's not in anything. Nothing that we have out there reeks of what it should reek to enter into the nostrils of heaven. And that is, God, when you say yes, that pleases me. That's not, we don't teach our children that. We don't teach ourselves that. We don't teach our spouses that. We don't teach our families that. We don't teach our churches that. We teach that if by chance Jesus were to walk into this room, we all ought to be fearful. But we never teach our people that He is in the room and He's speaking your name. Listen. Whoa. You know what you're called to. There's a destiny on your life, and you're being trapped in something that man wanted to place on you. God knows your name. Prophets know our name. We will stand in line and pray for a prophet to pray over us, and not realizing that God all the time is speaking our name. Do you understand that? Whoa. So that's the question. Does God's approval really satisfy? Just ask that. Does your approval really satisfy me, God? Does it really satisfy? Deep down in my heart, does it really satisfy me? So I was in a Detroit airport. I love this. I was in Detroit airport, and I was sitting, and I was reading the Word, and I had my computer open. I don't know what I was doing, actually, to be honest with you. And I looked up, and there was this woman in her 80s, and she's eating a sandwich, and that sandwich had, mayonnaise and stuff, and lots of mayonnaise, and I looked up, and I saw her, and I looked down immediately because she was like in her 80s, and she had been in the sun a lot, and there's really big wrinkles, and she was just smiling at me. And I think one of her teeth were missing and everything, And she was smiling at me, and I just kept looking down. And every time I'd look up, she was still looking at me, smiling. And what she didn't realize is that she had a lot of mayonnaise. It was like all over this side of her mouth. And I knew that if I kept looking at her, I was going to have to tell her something. And I just kept looking up at her, and she just kept smiling at me. Just smiling at me. And then I'd look down, and I'd look up. Mayonnaise. Just everywhere. And I said, good Lord. Do I tell her? I'm not going to tell her. And all of a sudden, I heard the voice of my father say, I sent her there right for you, right there in Detroit airport, just to show you what it looks like to be satisfied. She is satisfied. She does not care what you think, Jason. She's 80, and she's loving her sandwich. Mayonnaise. Oh, Lord. Yeah. I think Jesus, he's looking around for models of the kingdom.